What's up, guys? We're going to talk about number 11 on the pound for pound list. And that player is Lou Gehrig. Lou Gehrig was a good hitter. Not to go out on a limb with that statement. No, he's kind of, I would say, kind of like the guy who came right before him, Frank Robinson. He is left out of the conversation oftentimes when you talk about great hitters. And certainly, like many of the guys I'm mentioning on this list, is left out of the conversation when you talk about great swings. Played from 1923 to 1939, is listed at 200 pounds, and hit 493 homers. It's just 7 shy of 500. Hit a home run every 16.23 at-bats, weighing 200, and that gets you to the 11th spot on the pound-for-pound list, along with a batting average, because as you guys know, batting average is factored in to the pound-for-pound score now. And his batting average was .340. And he was one of these guys who didn't throw with his left hand, but he did right with his right hand. Sorry, he threw with his left hand, but he didn't write with his left hand. He wrote with his right hand. So he did have some dominance in his lead arm. So let's take a look at Gehrig's swing. So here we are from the down the line, as they say in golf, perspective. And this is, I feel like I'm in like someone's basement looking at old film here. But look at this action here. This is a great view. Look at that slotting action right there. Beautiful. Right there is really the key move in the swing, guys. I say this a lot. You know, the way the whole body moves is important in a lead side dominant action. And you want to get that action by swinging with just your lead arm and figure out what sort of body movement you like to do dominating the swing with just the lead side. But you almost have to pay particular attention to this part of the swing, what you see here. From about here to here. That is really the important part, and Gehrig does it just perfectly, slotting the bat nicely. And look at that position at contact. He's able to be that connected at contact because of that action that he just did. Because of that slotting action. This is just a beautiful position here at contact. I mean, I just love how bent his back arm is, how loose it is too. It's like you don't like feel that there's a lot of strain. And it's almost like it's just a very unique position that can really only be attained if you are utilizing more of your lead side. You can't fake this. You can't force positions and get into this beautiful position here at contact. It just looks loose. You know, it just looks loose, especially in the arms. And gosh, he's just perfect. He's even hitting exactly on the sweet spot of the bat. It's just a beautiful position. This has got to be one of my favorite swings on video right there. Let's see what he does in the next swing. Again, a lot of these older guys have this, basically a backswing. You know, a lot of guys today are very conservative in their movement prior to the stride. And I think, you know, you tend to see a little bit more bat movement from the real best pound for pound guys. They tend to get a little bit of backswing going, which shouldn't be a surprise. There again, Garrick had a little bit more of this like leaning back action than someone like Ruth. But there you see again this beautiful positioning. His legs just look so, like he almost looks like his legs are stumpy or something in this position. I guess the camera's up high. But just love this positioning. Again, the back arm. I always look at that back arm to see how bent it is. Now, I used to try to force this bentness of the back arm. That was kind of the approach I used when back in like 10, 15 years ago. I was basically I was back arm and backside focused because that's my dominant side and that's most people's dominant side. And that's the mistake most hitters get into, is they think of the swing mostly in terms of their back arm. And lo and behold, the answer was no, don't even think about your back arm. In fact, the backside needs to chill out way more than it is. You're thinking about it too much. So even though I was thinking about the back arm being more bent, again, I was trying to force positions. And, it could work sometimes for hitters. And sometimes it did work very well to do that. But forcing positions isn't the way to go. It just isn't the way to go. And that's why I'm critical of the approach that's going on right now with this kind of snapping the barrel back. Again, it's just a forcing of positions. It can work for some people sometimes. It's just not ideal. I'm interested in what's ideal. What's going to work for 95 to 99% of hitters, 99% of the time. This is also one of my favorite swings. For some reason, it's just so crisp. Back in Gehrig's day, this must have been like some amazing camera, right? He just he almost held the bat like he's holding a tree branch. Right there, you see it. It's just very different. I've seen guys actually make good improvements by doing this with the back arm and keeping the wrist this way rather than this. And I guess this just kind of promotes more of that rollover action through contact. Whereas if you do this, you just kind of eliminate that and you tend to slot it a little bit better. Maybe that's what Gehrig felt. And there you can see a good view of that backswing that he took. And then here he's going into lead side compression. Look at that. That is such a position that you would see if he was swinging with just the lead arm. Look how straight that lead arm gets. You also get a good view of his farmer's tan. What an amazing camera. Like, why isn't all footage this crisp? Like, this camera is insane. Look how straight that lead arm is. And look at that positioning. Once again, just awesome looking positioning. Everything. The lead arm is nice and straight. And yeah, I do kind of tend to prefer that if you can do it. I can, actually. Right? That's just not really the way I'm built. But I think that if you're not really built that way, get a little bit more mobility in that lead side shoulder. Both shoulders, really. I'm not asking you to get more or less mobility in one side or the other. But get a little bit more flexibility in that lead shoulder. But don't try to force your arm straight. That's what I don't want people to do. That's why I just say it's not even important. Let it happen as you get better mobility, but don't force the arm to be straight. When guys do that, it's just not. If it's not in them, it just makes the swing too robotic. But look at this positioning. The hips are like spinning the torso beautifully. The arms are doing exactly what they need to be doing, which is dropping the barrel nice and flat. The lead side is clearly pulling, and there's less back arm, backside pushing action, right? The back arm is just allowing the lead side pull to happen. If the back arm overexerts here, then the lead side cannot pull as much. There's an inverse relationship there. And look at that positioning. Boom. Just turns into it. Notice the back arm doesn't extend into contact here, guys. That's the key. That's one of the keys to a great swing. He's rotating to the right. You know, so often, this is a main reason why I think today's swing overall is inferior to these guys. And people scoff at that. They want to think that's just asinine and silly. But look, just because humans have gotten a handle on a certain process doesn't mean that the process has been improved. Okay? And the process of developing a great swing, just because we have a handle on it, does not mean necessarily that it's any better than the process that was going on in 1910s and 20s and 30s. These guys are legitimate. I mean, their mechanics need to be more respected. They were honed on the sandlots. They were honed using very crude equipment. And they were honed without the instruction of adults as they were growing up. And the guys who rose to the top are guys with actions just like you see here from Gehrig. Very lead side dominant, and that back arm just behaving. Look at that. No extension there. The guys today are doing this so hard through contact. And there's, oh gosh, that ball is just crushed. There's just no evidence that that is a good move from today's players or yesterday's players. Look at how he moves the back arm, though. The back arm is not completely uninvolved, guys, either. And you can see here, he's definitely getting a little bit of negative movements going on with the back arm. Look at how that elbow is rising up, clearly rising up there. Similar to what you'd see from a sidearm pitcher or an underhand pitcher, right? So he's getting some of that momentum moving from the back arm. So he is doing something with it. But look at that. Just drops nicely into the slot. This is a high pitch, so he's not slotting quite as much. But look at how the body rotation is leading it. He didn't swing quite as hard as Ruth, too. I mean, Ruth, you know, if he missed a pitch, he'd be facing the stands behind home plate. Kind of leaning, there's that leaning back of Gehrig that kind of leans back a little bit. Let's see what we got here. Got a little extra footage going on here. Okay. That's not going to help. Let's see what else we got. Sorry about the extra there, guys. Thought I edited that stuff out. He had very much of a downward chop at the ball, didn't he? I don't really care. I mean, these guys who, do I think you're probably going to get a few more homers if you're swinging more on an upward plane? Possibly. It's splitting hairs, you know. I don't think that swinging up or down is really where the secret sauce is at all. You know, that's just a red herring argument. It just leads people off what really matters. Jeez, man, I really did not edit this properly. I think we already even saw that swing. Oh, come on, man. Sorry about that, guys. All right, so here's a good look at where he tips his bat. First of all, look at how much he tips his bat. But he tips it almost towards, like, what would you call that, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock? This is what Ruth did. Tips it Now, this kind of move would be coached out of players' swings by the time they're in Little League. That's the problem, one of the problems. The others are plastic bats and pitching machines and, extremely light metal bats that players are given at such a young age. There are many problems. But one of the big ones is, a move like this would just be coached out of players. And they're becoming more and more confined and stiff. And look at how basically it turns into it's basically turning into a backswing that you do in golf. Like in golf, you start at the address position and then you kind of swing it up around. But he's kind of, this would be, back here would be Gehrig's kind of address position. And then he's swinging it into a backswing, getting a little momentum. That way when he rotates forward, he gets more whip of the bat because he gets more backward bend of the bat. The combination of the backswing with the forward rotation gives him more bend of the bat. Plus, he can get a little bit more front humerus compression. And it's just, I think it's a move that you might as well do. I mean, I say people should do whatever makes them feel comfortable. I just, I don't see any reason to not do a backswing, which means basically what I'm saying is I don't see any reason not to tip the bat. Get a little momentum going. But look at this position here. Rotated. Extremely connected, hitting the ball to the opposite field. And swiping down on it too. There's that bat tip to about 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. The backswing. And then the redirection. And then look at the back arm, just allow the rotation to hit. He must have just crushed balls, man. It's just so connected at contact. There's a nice hard swing. I wonder if he learned that from Ruth. I mean, if you're that near to Ruth every day, watching him hit, I would imagine that it's going to rub off on you, the hard swings. You're going to see, okay, one thing this guy is definitely doing, he's swinging really hard. And Gehrig already had great positions, so just swinging harder is only going to help. Oh, this is a great swing too. Another from probably the same camera that got his that other swing. Look at the front humerus compression there. Beautiful. Just rotates into it, catches that one a little bit more out in front, and then you can see the swipe down on the ball. There again is that tip of the bat. I'm sorry if we already saw this one, but let's look at it again. Yeah, I think we did. Yep, the opposite field hit. So there you go, guys. Lou Gehrig. Just, I think, I know, movies have been made about him, but I still feel like he's just kind of underrated. I mean, maybe because he played with Ruth, or maybe just because he played so long ago. I don't know. Sometimes these guys like Ruth, they just get a big name and people forget, no, actually he was somebody we should be looking at. He's not just the name of a candy bar or the name of a disease. This is somebody who had legit mechanics at the plate, is a pound for pound great and should be looked at. As you guys know, I mean, my quest with this pound for pound thing is to change the way that we typically do analysis in our baseball culture, like the way that we try to find what a great swing actually looks like. I mean, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but we're on this quest to figure out what is a great swing. We are on this quest. And I don't think that the way we've been approaching it has been the most efficient way possible. Basically, what they're doing is they've just said, Who's hitting well now? Let's copy his swing. And with the pound for pound equation and ranking these guys, I hope to put a different approach in people's minds. Maybe people don't want to go with my pound for pound equation. I think if someone has a better idea or a better way to find the best pound for pound hitters, I think for the most part, they're going to find the same guys. Even though maybe my equation isn't as efficient as possible, you're still going to find basically the same guys at the top of the list when you start factoring in body weight and how consistent and powerful they were per pound of body weight. My equation is basically, while it may not be the best possible way to do it, it's still finding basically the best pound for pound hitters of all time. You're going to find pretty much the same guys at the top of the list no matter how you do this pound for pound equation. But the point is we have to have some way to eliminate or lessen the severity or the effect of the other skills of hitting aside from swing mechanics. And that way we can arrive at guys who most likely had better swings. But this is it's just a much better way to go about it than just who's hitting well now. Let's do what he's doing. And that's the way they've been doing it for decades now. It's an archaic way of doing it. It's one that's just going to lead you to chase basically personal styles. With each new guy that comes, you're just kind of chasing another style, and you're never actually touching on the quintessential aspects of a great swing. So there you have it. Lou Gehrig. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Look forward to seeing your comments. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment, leave a question if you have one, and I'll get to it in the next video or a live video that I do every now and then. So thank you guys, and I'll see you next time.